hello, this is my prototype for my game concept. So let's not waste much time and get into it. What this video will be displaying is how the game is looking now, what features it has, what each blueprint does, and as well as a look at the GDD I made, explaining what I've iterated on. And where this game will go in the future if it was to be picked up by a big company. So starting off, here we have the player character. This is a little area you can run around in. This is how a general area will be in the game, as it's meant to be a roguelike. So you'll go through different areas, getting different power-ups, what have you. So, as you can see, there's a couple enemies here that the player can smack. In the game, these will do damage, but at the minute it's not too needed. This sort of square here, as you might have just seen, will do damage to me. And here we have some breakable environments as well. So the player can break these in the game. They'll be able to pick up items or coins for a shop or anything along those lines. Let's just hit these guys. And here, if we walk on this enough, see the health bar goes down, and the player will die. So that's the main gameplay. What's the main showcase here is the enemies that go after you and the use of environment to destroy that and get items from it. There's not items to pick up in the prototype, but be explaining it. We get the gist of what that's for. As well as making the player feel powerful and wanting to basically making hitting things a bit of an addiction going forward. Here's a look at our player blueprint. So here we've got the health bar. Here you can basically see it's current health. If we take any damage, minus it. The clamp here is to make sure we don't go underneath 0 or above 100. The current health. It'll set out to our current health if we lose it. If it's equal to 0, then the player will die. Set to dead here. It'll play the little death animation, and we can't use the inputs anymore. So that means we've lost the game. Here's the HUD with the little health bar you saw. This is used with a widget, which I can show later on. But essentially, it's just make sure it shows up on the screen. Here's the weapon animation. So basically, if I input the attack button, which I put in the settings, the game will say I'm attacking, and it will either play animation 0, which is the original one, or it could play another animation, where if I was to show you again, get rid of that, let me hit again, you can see I have 2 attacks if I click fast enough. So basically, it'll see if I'm attacking. If I just click once, it'll do 1 animation. If I click twice, it'll see if I've done it again, and it'll do animation 1 as well. And then after that, it'll reset, and then the cycle continues if I wish to keep clicking. This here is the how the animation works. So essentially, to put it lightly, it will call this, which is up here. Then this will notify when this frame happens, and then that will spawn. Oops, wrong one. This will spawn a sphere in front of the player that you can't see, which is where damage will be applied. So if we go here, the damage will hit a component. So for this will be health, which everything which needs damaging has, and that will apply the damage. Here I can change the damage to whatever I would like it to be, or I could change it to a power up or anything like that. I got all of this from a video on YouTube, which helped me get the animation going. Really useful video. Here's the damage box, which I use to show how damage is applied. It's very simple. It's just if the player enters a spot area, they will get damaged, essentially. I could change how much it does. I will probably use this in the game as something like spikes or vines, or something along those lines that the player will get ensnared in, and it would damage them. Here's how the enemies work. As you can see here, they've got a health component, which is what helps me damage them. But this essentially will make them walk towards me. Very simple. They'll just see me and they'll walk towards me. I move to get play character. Here's how damage is applied to them. So basically, if anything does damage, which my sword does, they will lose health. If they die, here they go. If their health hits 0, they will be destroyed. They will simulate physics, so ragdoll, and then there will be delay between them spawning again, which goes from here, the enemy spawner. What this does, this basically delays this, so it won't spawn another enemy until 2 seconds after, so I don't get too overwhelmed. Here's a bit more look at the health. As you can see, the damage handling. This basically will minus the current health depending on how much damage is done. Very simple, basically what this does. This is also from a YouTube video. Anything to do with health, where I involve damage handling, is from a YouTube video. I should mention, same with this HUD. Here's the code for the HUD, basically to make it appear on my screen. Up here, this is the little bar that shows how much health I have. Here's a quick look at my GDD, which will go over what my initial plans were for this and how they've developed. Not much to talk about here, but from here as well I will talk about what would happen next in an actual scenario, where my prototype is accepted by a big company. So phase 1 was to have a large area where the player moves around freely. That includes walls, trees and rocks, which, as you saw, they didn't look like trees and rocks, but that is what they would be in the game. And they can be destroyed as well, which was down in phase 3. Stationary enemies in the environment, as well as a working ranged and melee weapon system. As we'll see later, that was applied, that it would just be the melee weapon system, as to not get too much, have too much to do in such little time. One shot, make enemies' environments die in one shot. For the time being, like I say, we can adjust the health on enemies, so that's why they were dying so quick. It just makes sure the prototype a bit easier. And then make a working player health bar. As you saw, that worked. But I also did state here that would be on environments and enemies as well. I didn't do that in the end, as we'll see later on. I'll put the top. And just in case I'm trick, yeah, this one was pretty neat. Everything happened here, besides the enemies trying to attack. But as previously stated, for the prototype, it's not that important right now. If you go all the way to the top though, here's my change log. Here's the date I decided to implement the changes. So from the very start, I decided just to have melee weapons for this prototype. Here's the enemies. A bit later on, I decided not to have enemies damage me, and just use the damage area to test how the health bar worked. And then here's the health bar for the different enemies. I decided not to do that, just for simplicity's sake, as well as it was taking a bit too much time. But no, yeah, so later on, if this was to be accepted, if I was to go down in my GDD, at this point we probably prioritise refining some more mechanics, such as like enemies attacking, how much health they should take, how much health we should do, maybe add some more enemies. That's something I wish I added onto this prototype, but I didn't end up doing that. I also think we would prioritise getting the aesthetic down from the artists, as this game's whole idea is you're a character who's been sucked into a cinema screen, and you have to fight through different like movies. So this one specifically for this prototype is meant to be a zombie movie, as you can probably see from the animation on the enemies. But you may end up in like an 80s slasher or like a Rambo action movie, something like that. A very big thing we would prioritise would be the roguelike elements, having different items that drop. I assume start simple, with something like that increases your movement speed or increases your range on your weapons, or adds an effect to your weapon that affects enemies, and later on have more enemies coming in that would counter you, so you'd have to think a bit more smarter about what you're picking the further you go into the movies. But yeah, that's my prototype. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.